This is going to be the same model as yesterday. I'll open up with a question, and you hopefully will be ready with some good questions for these brilliant people, and then we'll have a couple of rounds on that as well. I would like to start with, because you all presented us with different kinds of tools, and we've seen also yesterday that there were lots of tools, but really they only work if we can start to get them into practice, right? And they need to get out there to work. And I was wondering, what can we do to have people start using some of these tools, whether it's in the accounting side or on the procurement, or actually in whether it's starting working together or from the fashion side, or any of these that you've been mentioning. What do you do, and what could we do in general to have more people start to use some of these tools that we've been hearing about? Who wants to go first on that? I was thinking to give it to you because you really have that as the core of what you do. Yes.
Okay, what we do is that we, as I said, we develop tools, web-based tools, a lot of them, but also we go out and speak to procurers. We have lots of contact with them. We do workshops sometimes with them. Other times we go to things like this to speak to people. Or we join in on market consultations and speak to the procurers there. And also we are also engaged in pilots, which we see to test. We do that to test our criteria mainly, and also to see whether they work the way that they should and whether we should adjust them. But that also makes us being more proactive to go and address the procurers' needs.
Is there a role of legislation in it? Do you think some of these tools should be mandatory to use, either the public side, or could also be some of the things that you guys are working on?
I think there is space for procurers to use these tools. So I think it's only up to us and them to enable them to see that space. So I don't see the need to put a law or some kind of legislation on them to enforce this, but there is space.
Okay. Anybody else who wants to comment on it?
Often we are asked if Regnskap Norge is trying to hug trees, and it's not so much the environmental aspect of it, and it's not also the waste perspective that a lot of politicians are talking about waste all the time. But it's business, it's good business, and we really need to go to every conference that we can and share the message that this is business and it's smart business.
I think that's a very important point of departure. I represent industry, and if industry is to change, it will follow the money. So when consumers are using their purchasing power differently, when we see that there is a change in the ways that you can actually reach your goal and you can make money in a different way, I think that's what enables change. And I think with that, procurement and all of these initiatives that will help companies in the right direction is important. But when you see that there is a strategic business behind it, that's when it actually will start happening for real. Yeah,
well, I completely second that. Let's open up some questions. I know we have one there in the back. Please, again, state your name and then question.
Yes, Lena Dybcina, Nord University Business School. I told yesterday, we have this master course on the circular economy. So that's why I will not be original, and I will use this opportunity as much as possible. And I have a questions to Helena and Hans Christian. If we teach students in circular economy, what should we teach them that they will be able to do the things that you are doing right now? Because Jasper was asking how to practice this, but in business. But what can we teach them? Thank you.
So that's for the two of you. Who will go first? What do you need to teach the students of tomorrow?
Well, one of the things that we've been looking at is what to report on. So obviously, we want to broaden what is financial reporting. And I think that it's important for the students to understand the matrices that will influence behavior, so that they can gather data and report on that. So I think That and also how to use accounting principles to get the real value of the company into the financial statements.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also it's important to teach them that there is space, like I said, in the law and in regulations. They have plenty of space to do market consultations and to take environmental considerations into account when they do procurements. So just to make them comfortable with that fact and work with that, I think is important.
Good. Yeah. We have another question somewhere here. Yeah, to the front.
Yeah, my name is Tonja and I went to New University, and there I learned very well that you can challenge. I have a question for Regnskap Norge, because you talked a lot about putting in value on externalities. It's all about money. To convince leaders that understand it's business in it, but what about if leaders are not convinced? How do you value and prove this business?
Okay, what we have a situation today is that pick and choose reporting regime, so you can pick the metrics that look nice. So if you have it in accounting standards, it's binding, so you have to report on it. And then you have to put value on water, on clean air, and all the pollution that you have. There are some standards for that for listed companies, but it's not really complete. So I think that you need to have a system for valuation, and that could be a governmental task to create. And you need to have a system where you have to report on certain externalities. But it's a difficult issue, so you need academia and others to build models in order to record this and put value on it. But it's not easy, I agree.
Yes, do we have another question from the floor? Yeah, down there to the right. Or your left. Sorry.
My name is Benjamin Fehlers. I'm a PhD student of University of Agder, and my question is to Giselle Mariani. Do you see any front runners in the clothing industry, like for instance the auto clothing industry that is dependent on a healthy environment?
We see companies coming through which are basing their business model on these principles. What we find really difficult is companies who have established the business model in the old paradigm and trying to reproduce what they've already had success in. So Warner Group, even Helly Hansen or Norrøna have a type of business model which is very difficult to change. Even though they work with outerwears, you'd think that because of the closeness to nature, this is something that they should care a lot about. Obviously Patagonia, which is an outdoor brand, which is acclaimed sustainability, have still the same type of practices. They're trying to reduce the level of consumption. But I think the circular economy represents a bigger picture, and I think this is the biggest challenge for CEOs today, is because they are the bottleneck, because they don't really understand the possibilities that lies in this enabling this type of technology and this type of business behavior. But you have to look at the whole picture. What we're talking about here and what Regnskap Norge is talking about is valuing sort of waste in a sense, But what I'm talking about is trying to go to the core of something and working with design and development with the idea of it being part of a circular system. So we're starting from a different departure point. So that's why the new companies that are coming along now, based on this type of principle, will be leading the way in the future.
But a bit of a follow-up question, because you also said that the CEO is the bottleneck, because they don't really understand it yet. So we need to educate a whole generation of business leaders. What's the fast track to doing that? We kind of don't have years and years and years to wait. So what's the best way that we save throughout 2019? What could we do to really fast track education of CEOs so that they get it? Is it your tools to really prove it, or is it yours that will then put pressure on them? They have to deliver, or is it you that will be teaching them through research? Or what's a short input on what's the best way to get executives to understand this, to be able to start to dive in? Yeah,
Well, I can comment on that from my perspective. It's a generation shift. They don't have. I mean, they don't have. There is no.
But we
way
can't
out
really
of it.
wait until the generation
No, but
shift.
it's happening already. Like
Yeah.
I work with one of the big companies like the Vano Group, and they are frozen because the top level CEOs, they don't have this knowledge.
Yeah.
They don't understand how to do this, and so but they are losing so much money, and they're burning with like overstock for hundreds and hundreds of millions of kroner. I mean, it's incredible. So I think it will happen sooner than later, even though it will probably be too late. But it will happen because there's a need that is so pressing.
Yeah. Thomas?
So what we are also doing, we have the MBA, and there we have this course on circular economy and trying to teach them about this, and they're also learning about these things. So this is sort of the fast track I think the universities can do, but also of course the students that go out in the industry or in the firms and trying to find solutions together with the industry.
But Hans, I was wondering, I mean, you have the attention of much of these people because you have a debate with them on the annual accounting, at least. Are you the golden key? Could you upgrade all these people in a year? Because you meet them at least once a year.
Yeah, the accountants will save the world. We are sure about that.
That's great.
So, but
I like to hear that.
obviously, our members meet their customers every day, and they will have a big influence on that. But I think that banks also will play an important role, because if they stop financing linear business models, it will hurt. So I think that will work as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think, with that sort of, of course you can. Yeah, you can add.
Just adding that I think also public leadership here is crucial, and also the public partnership, public-private partnerships that you could get from both public procurements and other parts would be good, and also showing the success stories. That's also one factor I think that would make leaders realize that this is something they need to do.
All right, well, let's give them a hand, and thank you all for your inputs. We have just a small sign of appreciation here for you, a gift from the organizers, and some of you have heard what it is yesterday, but some arrived today and haven't. So these are for when you go shopping with your, of course, reusable bag that you already have. Then, when you buy eight apples anyway, you still take a plastic bag, but no longer, because these are the reusable and of course made out of reused plastic, but reusable plastic bags for your actual produce in there. So now you have the bag in the back and can be just that tiny bit more smarter and more greener than the other people in the line down there. So go home and do that, and thank you so much for your contribution here, and let's give them a hand. And then we have just a short opportunity to go out and grab some coffee, and when I say short, I mean short. It's a 10-minute break, so it's actually not really a break. It's more like, okay, I'm gonna go out and fuel coffee and come back in the room. So see you back here in 10 minutes.